Good morning, traders. I'm Dennis Dick.
And I'm Joel Elcon, and welcome to Friday's edition of Pre-Market Info.
Jobs, jobs, and more jobs. That's what we're going to be looking at here in about 12 minutes. We're waiting on the 8:30 jobs report. But the market has already rallied ahead of this number. We are up 14 and a half points right now, trading at 1623 ahead of this important number there, Joel.
Uh, Got a real nice rally going on overnight. Hit 26.75 overnight. So that's going to be the number to take a look at on the upside. Currently trading above 1623, which was the 9-day high. So we'll keep an eye on that level as well.
The overnight low has been 1608.50, which coincides closely with the close of 1609. So if for whatever reason we go into sell off, maybe you find some initial support at that level if the jobs number is bad. That 1594 that we were talking about obviously held from Wednesday. We talked about that being Friday's low, Monday low, Tuesday low, and the Wednesday overnight low too. So obviously that number was huge on the downside, and we've bounced now almost 30 handles off of that number. Can the Bulls keep control here? We will soon find out with this jobs number coming. What we want to do is take a look at gold here now, though, because gold is selling off ahead of this number. The GLD and the SLV both trading down here this morning. If you look at the gold futures contract, we are trading down at 1237 right now. So we're down about $10 from where it closed on Wednesday. And gold here didn't rally for very long before obviously already showing some weakness, Joel.
Right. Nothing seems to be helping this gold market. Had some consolidation. Couldn't break above the 1360 level.
And you've got the miners themselves too: ABX, Gold Corp, Newmont. Actually, the only one making new lows and which made new lows on Wednesday was ABX. So don't know what to say there. Obviously, the old low, I tried to pick a bottom on it, didn't work. I got out and sold my long when it did cut through that 1467 number, making a new low. And the other ones here actually haven't given back much of their rally there from 3 days ago. Not nearly as much as Barrick did, anyways. So interesting that Barrick is looking a little relatively weaker than some of the other ones. Joel, you still kicking around there? We're having some audio difficulties.
Yeah, trying to get rid of my echo
Oh,
here.
Joel's got a little bit of audio difficulties on his end, so the echo's getting him a little bit. Actually, on my end, we're okay though. If you can just follow along with me there, Joel. Apple here is taking out the 420 level that we had talked about this morning. It did take it out on Wednesday as well. It's trading at 423.20 this morning, up $2.40. It got up to 422.98 on Wednesday. So Apple continuing its rally. It's had a 4-day rally here going. Obviously, it's going to depend on the jobs number if it can continue to rally up here or not.
Uh, it, we have Wednesday's high 422.98. That's the level to keep an eye on. Above that level, 425.98 was your 10-day high in Apple.
Going on to Google too. We're going to take a look at some of the major S&P components just ahead of the jobs number to give you some technical numbers. If you're going to try to trade this jobs number, we want you to have the numbers ahead of time. Google 892 is where it's trading at right now. If you look back to the high on Monday, 892.08, so that's coinciding nicely with that. Obviously, if the jobs number is good and Google continues the rally, you know the 900 psychological level is going to be a big number that traders are going to focus on.
Right, bumped up against 890 three times in the last three trading sessions. Break above 890. We did have a high just above 900 and 902. So let's see if Google can clear and stay above, hold that 890 level.
What about Facebook? $25 seems to be the number on that stock. It got up there 3 days ago. We had talked about it 2 weeks ago when that big institutional order had of 2 million shares had pumped the stock in about 2 seconds from 24.60 up to 25.19. We tried to test that level 3 days ago, making a high of 25.06. Could not get above there, so really didn't take out 25 with any conviction whatsoever. And now 2 days in a row we've had lower highs and lower lows, despite actually having a higher close on Friday. The lower high and lower low thing, a little bit concerning, although Facebook is rallying here this morning with fair value. It's up about 16 cents.
The last six trading sessions, 24 to 25 is defined the range in Facebook. Obviously, getting above 25, holding 25 might spark a rally, at least up to the $26 level. But 25 is just a number on the downside. Several lows right around the $24 level. So keep an eye on it if Facebook goes into retreat.
The fun old channeling stocks.com thing: buy low, sell high, and the same stock again and again. That range has been 24 to 25 for the past week or two, so we'll have to see if that continues to hold. Let's go on to some of the financials, because sometimes these stocks can respond a little bit with a little bit more volatility off of the jobs numbers. Goldman Sachs, for instance, has been choppy like crazy here the last 4 or 5 trading sessions. It's had a 2 or 3 point range every day. It actually took out 150 on Wednesday, got as low as 149.28, but then rebounded towards the end of the day and is rallying here this morning up at 151.70. The overall trend here a little concerning for Goldman. Obviously, back in June, beginning of June, we were trading in the mid 160s, 165 area, and then we had that big cascade down with the overall market towards the end of June. We did bounce up a little bit, but we've been drifting down here. So despite the market trading significantly off of its lows, Goldman Sachs is actually very close to the low that it set on that Monday on the 24th, back at 148.71.
Yeah, I noticed that with a couple of the other financials too, as well. While we're not trading up in the pre-market, let's take a look at what's going on in the pre-market here. Goldman not joining in the rally. Just did get a low here at just around 149.28. So we'll be keeping an eye. I mean, it's surprising to see that stock not rallying with the S&Ps up as much as they are.
Yeah, and Morgan Stanley, the same story here, Joel. Concerning charts too, like the relative strength on these financials has not been good, because if you look at the S&P futures, we're up like 40, or from those lows that we set that Monday, we're up 40 or 50 points from where we were at. And the financials, Morgan Stanley is sitting right on its low that it made that day. 23.91 is the low that it made back on that day, and actually on Wednesday's trading, it took that out, got as low as 23.83, did close above, is rallying this morning at 24.37. But if you're along these financials, you've got to be a little concerned about the relative strength.
Yeah, 25 has been posing some major resistance here in Morgan Stanley. So if we do get a rally off the jobs number in the financials, just over the $25 level, we'll have to keep an eye on. Just trying to struggle to hold 24. It's dipped twice under that level in the last 8 trading sessions. So 24 is a critical number for Morgan Stanley to hold on the downside.
So the two major brokerage houses obviously weren't rallying back up. But if you do look at some of the other financials, they did participate actually. So I shouldn't say it's all the financials. JP Morgan's had a strong rally. Bank of America's rallied up pretty strong too from those lows that it set when everybody was washing out there a week and a half ago. And Citigroup has come off of its lows pretty significantly as well. So let's go to JP Morgan. You got the chart up there. Just looking, where do you think the key support is? Obviously, we should maybe look at resistance too, because 53.30, it's trading up 50 cents here in the pre-market. We had a couple double tops up there in the mid 53.5 area. Is that going to pose some resistance here again, Joel?
Yeah, definitely. 53, 50. 53.53 and 53.63 were the highs on Monday and Tuesday. Still 30 cents away from there in the pre-market. Getting to that level will be critical resistance. Coming back on the downside, basically a double bottom at the 52.12 to 52.21 level. So defined ranges on JP Morgan here.
Looking at a couple of these other stocks here, actually in S&P, but I'm going to go to AT&T and T and Verizon because, interesting enough, they go ex-dividend on Monday, and we always say this AT&T and T and Verizon, they often do get a little bit of a run-up ahead of their ex-dividend date. AT&T will go ex-dividend on Monday for 45 cents. Verizon will go ex-dividend for 51. They have popped up a bit. I think they're kind of just moving with the overall market, though. But sometimes the day before, you'll see a little bit more relative strength out of these two stocks as participants come in trying to capture the dividend, and obviously they have to hold the stock through Friday's 8 o'clock p.m. close to be able to get that dividend. So what do you think on the technicals on AT&T?
AT&T Tuesdays and Wednesdays highs right there, 35.74 to 35.80. So little double top to contend with here. Hasn't quite reached that level yet in the pre-market. Above that, you run into the 5-day high at 35.95, and of course a nice round number like 36 is something to keep an eye on.
Go into Verizon's technicals as well in case people are interested in trading these ahead of the ex-dividend date. Closed at 51.01. No trades to report as of yet here in the pre-market. It's been a quiet pre-market session for Verizon, but it is getting up towards some resistance area where we had a high back on the June the 8th of 51.68. We also had a high of 51.5 back on the 27th of June. So a couple numbers up here in the mid 51s look like it could give a little bit of initial resistance here.
Yep, those look good levels to keep an eye on the upside. Coming up back on the downside, you have a double bottom here right around the 50-20 level. So just like AT&T, it's kind of been in the defined range going into the ex-dividend.
One more quick one just ahead of the jobs number. We're about 45 seconds away. Procter & Gamble, I was going to just cite out this at 70. It's been slowly climbing up. It's been a choppy session. It seems like every day for Procter & Gamble. It's actually had close to a dollar range here the last 3 or 4 trading sessions. So actually on Wednesday it was over a dollar range. But it seems like it just gets up in these mid 78s and it struggles to get through there.
Yeah, you do have a print here above 79, so maybe a straight print there. Coming back now, perhaps use that whole 78.50 level now as support. Now that we've broken above it, if you continue to rally in the 79 handle, you do run into a few levels to keep an eye on.
Jobs number here too, Joel, just breaking here. Brent, you got that number on the jobs? We actually just sold off 3. We're bouncing around a lot right now. Bring up the E-mini chart. We just bounced down to 1620. We just bounced back up to 1625. We're trading and cutting through handles like crazy here. If you get that daily to the pre-market chart, really bouncing around
Change in
here.
non-farm payrolls for the month of June comes in at 195,000. Economists were looking for 165,000 change. Private sector payrolls coming at 202,000. Economists were looking for 175,000. Unemployment rate ticking higher to 7.6%. Economists were looking for 7.5%. The change in non-farm payrolls for May was revised higher from an initial 175,000 to 195,000, and the private sector for May was revised higher from 178,000 to 207,000.
And we chopped around a bit, but to be honest with you, this is a pretty lackluster response to this number here. We did bounce down to about 1621, but then we just bounced back, and we're trading right where we were trading ahead of the number. So really only a 4-point range in the S&P after the breaking of that number. Obviously, now we're starting to break out. Now, right now, as I'm just speaking, we just popped up 2 more points here. I think we just ticked the new high on the move there from 1628, or came close to it, 1628.
Right.
So, Joel, we're bouncing around.
Yeah, some pretty good activity here on the fireworks on the 5th of July instead of the 4th of July. 1628.50 though remains to be the high in the session. So I haven't been able to make a new high on that. I have a feeling that we creep up back to that level, 1628.50, perhaps a 1630 could cap the rally for today. Coming back on the downside, that spike low at 1621 off the number should provide some good support, Dennis. But I think if we break below that 16.21, we could come back and perhaps trade closer to Wednesday's high at 16.13.
It seems like they want to try to take it higher there, though. We went right down, we ticked down to 16.21. You often get a little head fake off these numbers, too, where they'll take it one way quickly and then spike it back the other way. And we had that little head fake just after the 8:30 number, down to 16.21, shaking out whoever maybe was sitting, and they're like, oh, it's not good. And then obviously it's taking the other way. And we're ticking up here slowly, so I don't know. I think we might get some follow through here yet. We're up 18 points here now, so regardless, it's looking pretty good for the market today. We were just talking about a few of the stocks in the Big Ten, Joel. I wanted to go to a couple ones that have been displaying some relative weakness as well. General Electric here, it is bouncing up with fair value here this morning, but looking at from the chart from the last week or two, we made that low back on the sellout washout Monday at 22.76. Interesting enough, on Wednesday, the low 22.76.
Right. Just trading up, though, at 23.15. So do got a little bit of a rally going here with fair value. Let's keep an eye on 23.34. That was Monday's close and Tuesday high. Another 20 cents away from here, but that should be your major resistance in GE.
Yeah, and you could say technicians could argue that that is a potential double bottom in place there now. So if the rally continues, that is actually a bullish formation. Johnson & Johnson, another one that's similar and trades similar to Procter & Gamble, kind of been very, very, very quiet here for the last 4 or 5 trading sessions, is ticking up towards some resistance though. We got as high as 87.82 back on the 27th of June. We just ticked up to 87.63. So I think that number, you get in this high 87s, maybe you find a little bit of resistance here again.
Yeah, actually Monday's high was 87.64, so we are opening in the resistance. Above that, you mentioned the big number here at 87.82, which is the 5-day high. But a lot of what is going to happen in these issues is predicated if the SPOOs can maintain these lofty levels off the open.
Buffalo Wild Wings. There's not a lot of news here today. We're after the 5th of July. There's not a lot of analysts doing any response. But Buffalo Wild Wings was upgraded at Miller Tabak here this morning. They raised their price target to 117. And here's a stock that has really been on a tear here, but it's struggled around this big key $100 figure. It's traded over it a few times, 100.94, back on the 27th of June, 166, back on the 26th of June. So it's been over it 4 or 5 times here in the last 2 weeks, but hasn't got any momentum to get it going. Although today I wonder if this upgrade can be enough momentum to get it above 101, where I'd like to see it breaking out to new highs, and maybe, then you could argue this whole cup and handle thing coming to fruition, and maybe the stock could actually start to make a march up through the 100s.
Yeah, that you're right. That initial resistance coming in at just above the $100 level, and the major resistance at 100.94.
So could be the potential breakout here today if we can get some follow through on this upgrade. Any other stocks you want to look at here specifically in the Big Ten? You want to look at Microsoft maybe, because I know we were talking on Friday, you were saying that the relative strength really wasn't that great on Microsoft, or actually on Wednesday, I keep thinking because of the day off it was Friday, but on Wednesday the relative strength wasn't that great. Microsoft is trading up 25 cents here this morning, 34.26. What's your take on that one?
Microsoft is going to run into Tuesdays and Wednesdays highs roughly at 34.37 and 34.33 or 43, I believe. So that's going to be your initial resistance point for Microsoft. After that, you could float up to 34.99, which was Monday's high.
Let's just take one last look at the SPOOs here, because they are ticking up. 1628 is where we're trading at right now. We got as high as 1630.75 just a couple minutes ago here. So it is this slow, steady climb here since the jobs number. We're up about 3 points. We have been up as much 6 from when the jobs number came out. It looks like they want to take this market and they want to start marching here again. And sometimes you'll see these days, sometimes the activity is a little muted because it's just the day after a holiday. But with this big jobs number here, a lot of traders are in, and it wouldn't surprise me if they try to continue to push this market.
Just as far as looking at the really solid levels to look at as far as resistance, you can see there's really nothing that is stopping this market. In the 1630 handle. Of course, that would tack on another 10 points in the S&Ps, but who knows? It seems like they like the numbers. I like some of the news that came out with over the weekend from the Bank of England talking about not messing with rates. So even I'm convinced maybe the bull is back.
And the bull didn't stay sleeping very long, and the bears weren't out of hibernation for very long. So right now it looks like the bulls are in charge. That 1594 really held, and it's continuing to build on that. And we'll have to see if we can blow through the 1630s and possibly test up to 1640. That'd be a hell of a day if it did that. That's our show for today, guys. Have a great weekend, and we will be back at you on Monday.